In this episode, I am talking about a fruit, not a root. What does that say? What does that mean? Well, I want to talk to you about some of the problems that you may be having in your business and how personal branding is really a solution that can act as sort of the foundation for your business and help you overcome some of the challenges that you're having, i.e., these problems. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Andrea Patrick, the BTB Boss, and you are in the right place if you want to find the intersection between your business life and your personal life so that you have a quality of life. What does that mean, Andrea? Well, personal brand, your personal brand, who you are, is in need of a kick in the pants. You have got to put it to action if you want to find this intersection, because ultimately, when you put the BU in your business or the BU in your life, just period, what happens is you begin to function as someone who is in control of the things that are going on around them as best as you possibly can. You can create those circumstances for optimal success, operate within what I call your personal framework. That way you're able to manage expectations of yourself and the expectations of other people. And when you do that, trust and believe that life gets easier because people know where you're coming from. You do better business because you're making better decisions, all of the things. So trust me, if that is something you need in your business, go ahead right now, take a second, hit the subscribe button and click the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Before we get started with the content for today, I want you to take a moment, screenshot this episode, and then tag me over on Instagram, AF Patrick, letting me know that you're watching this video. Go ahead and set your mind to stay until the end because I do have something that I want to share with you at the end of the video. And it kind of starts off a little bit slow, so I don't want you to get in thinking it's going to be quick. But it is fun, great tips, but they come a little bit later in the video. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the fruit, not a root. And what that means is the difference between a symptom of a problem and the problem itself. Well, what I'm going to provide for you is the symptom of a problem, and I'm going to give you a solution for that symptom as well using personal branding. So I've got 8 here. We're going to dive right in. I'm looking right at them. So if I look down, that's what's happening. And the first one is maybe your problem is you're having low productivity. A lot of us have struggled with that in the past, but it boils down to this. If you want to solve this problem, the first thing you need to do is create systems that house activities needed to achieve a certain result. So you need to create systems in your business. 3 of the main systems are marketing, operations, and finance. I know you've heard of them, but since I primarily operate in the marketing space, that's mostly what I will be talking about: creating strategies, creating campaigns, setting things up so that they're authentic and organic, all of that. That's what I do over here. The next thing is you need processes that define how things get done within the system that you create. So you have to have a process. There has to be a method to your madness. Then you need a template or templates to ensure that there's consistency in the quality and the timing of the things that you're getting done within your processes. And I always say that templates are really for your audience because they make sure that you are consistent. So if you're thinking about a bakery, for instance, your favorite bakery, maybe you have a favorite sugar cookie there and you love it because it's shaped like a duck. I don't know. Well, the consistency, that template that baker is using is a recipe and a cookie cutter, right? So they're using the same recipe for that cookie dough and they're using the same cookie cutter for the shape of the cookie. So every time you go in, you are managing your expectations that that cookie is going to taste just as good as it did the last time you had it, and it's going to be that cute little shape that you love so much. So templates are really about helping your audience find your credibility or see yourself as credible in their eyes. The systems are really for you. They help you with the method to your madness, the processes, so that you can create whatever needs to be created on the template. Does that make sense? Okay, so then next you need a workflow. And the workflow determines the order of things and how they get done within the processes and the system. So how are you going to work through this template that you have here? If it's a checklist, are you going to go in order down the checklist and make sure that everything gets done? Or do you need to make sure that there are prerequisites for the things on the list that you need to get done? So maybe the checklist isn't done in order. That's your process, sis. I don't know. But if you want to solve the problem of low productivity, these are the 4 things you need. You need systems, you need processes, you need templates, and you need workflows. Okay, now the next thing you need, which is if you're having problems with creating content, maybe you don't know, you don't have any ideas, you can't think of what to put on social media. Well, here's some solutions for you with that. First thing you need to do is understand your audience's love language. Okay, there is a book about love languages. My husband and I read it in our marriage group. However, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about here is what information does your audience really want? You need to know this. And where are they going to get that information? Now, once they get there, how do they most like to receive it? And the best way I can explain this to you is if you have a really good piece of content that you want to get out, is your audience going to receive that information best in a blog post because they're readers? Or are they going to consume it easily watching a YouTube video because they want things done fast? Or are they the type that have long rides and they like to pop in a podcast and listen to the podcast? However they are receiving your message best is kind of what you need to know. That's going to be their love language. The next thing you need to understand is your own epiphany journey. I've talked about this before in my content because your epiphany journey is really how you are going to identify the things that relate to your audience best, and it's how you will be able to approach them and meet them where they are without sounding salesy, without sounding like you're just trying to get their dollar, even if you're just trying to get their dollar. So then the next thing to solve this content creation issue is creating buckets. Now, from this epiphany journey, you want to identify various points on your journey and maybe lump them together into categories. And I suggest that you have maybe 3 to 5 categories. I'll give you an example of this. When I first started, I would say, and you will probably hear me say this in previous videos or YouTube or podcast episodes, where I would say, I talk about your brand heritage, your brand identity, your brand message, and your brand legacy. Well, you know what? Over time, I realized that you don't understand what that means. But basically what I'm saying when I say your brand heritage is your why. Where did all of this come from? What made you decide to start your business? How are you connecting to your business? All of the foundational things that are going to help you in the long run when it comes time for you to create these marketing campaigns and really get in front of your audience to get your message across. So you want to create content buckets based on your own epiphany journey that has been put into 3 to 5 categories so that you know exactly what type of information would fit best in that category. Then when you're looking at other YouTube videos or you're listening to other podcasts, or maybe you see something on the street, you can identify, oh, wow, that will be great inside that particular content bucket. And you just keep a running list on your project management tool. I actually have what I call high value content on my Asana platform where whenever I have an idea, I jot it down there. And then when I get ready to go back to create content, I have a place to pull, ideas from, an idea catalog, if you will. So that's kind of how you can draw from your own epiphany moment. And because you understood your audience's love language, if you will, now you know where those dots connect. You can speak in story form in a narrative that sounds very relatable and authentic and organic when you are creating your content. The other thing that I'll say here is that you want to consider lifestyle implications for your products and services. And what I mean by that is you want to think about how your audience's lifestyle is going to be improved from using your solution or from using your product. And then you talk about that thing and direct them to your solution. So a good example of this is weight loss. If you are someone who is selling a weight loss product or a weight loss service, then you might think about the lifestyle that people are looking forward to once they've achieved their weight loss goals. So maybe it's in the springtime, you're preparing them to do sort of a boot camp and you want to sell that service because you know summer's coming and people want to get in bathing suits. If you are a med spa, then maybe you'll talk about how much more confident someone will feel if they put lip fillers in and they feel like their lips are full and voluptuous like they've always wanted. And you give them images of maybe drinking a wine glass with beautiful lips. See what I'm saying? So you give them the image of the lifestyle they want, service you have that can help them achieve it. Okay, let's move on to the third thing, which is imposter syndrome. Are you having trouble with that? Is that a problem for you? I know that I've dealt with it in the past, but here here are some solutions for feeling imposter syndrome. The first one is know what your why is. We talked about that a little bit before, but know what your why is, because when you understand that, if nothing else, you can stand on the reason that you got into this business in the first place and why it was so important to you. That can always sort of shock you back into knowing that you're here for a reason and you want to continue moving forward. Next, have a point of view. Don't be wishy-washy and just flow with the wind. When you see other influences in your space talking about certain things, you feel like you need to jump on the bandwagon with that as well, even though you know that it's not your area of expertise. Maybe if you have an element of that area that you can speak to, you can always pull out bits and pieces of what you see as it relates to the reason you got into the business in the first place. And again, you can always go back to those content buckets and how it relates to you and how it relates to your audience to determine if it's going to work. Next, I would say apply your perspective. When I always tell people, nobody has the same combination of experience, influence, and passion that I do. So my perspective on things may not be the same as someone else's. And so if I give my perspective, it doesn't have to be fact in terms of, 1 + 1 is 2, but it can be, listen, have you considered this? Because the way I'm looking at this particular situation, I see a solution in this way. And you can speak very intelligently to your perspective, and then you don't feel like you're an imposter. Nobody has that perspective but you. And then next, I would say operate within your personal framework. We talked about that before. If you operate within your strengths, limitations, desires, and non-negotiables every single time, if you apply that to every single situation, then odds are you will feel very confident in the way that you're doing things, because you know that you have created those circumstances for optimal success, and you know what works best for you, and you know what you need to do and be your best, whether you're working with a client, whether you're serving and you're just talking to your audience, whatever it is. But you'll know that you're operating within your personal framework. Next is, some people have a problem with niching down. Is that you? Are you struggling? Do you always seem to be asking, how do you niche down? What does it mean to niche down? I can't figure out how to niche down. Well, the solution to that is this. You need to know how you want to leverage your personal brand first and foremost. And that means, again, you're creating your personal framework leads to creating your personal brand. And then you can determine how you want to show up. How do you want to give action to that personal brand that you created? And you will create those circumstances for optimal success. Now, all of this is in my upcoming program, so don't worry about it. You don't have to get it all right now, but it is good for you to kind of get the beginnings of it so that you can start thinking about these things. When I talk about how you want to leverage your personal brand, again, that is, how do you want to show up and know that you are doing your best and being your best every situation? The next thing is, what role does your superpower have in your business? What is that thing that you can do with your eyes closed, your hands tied behind your back out of a deep sleep, and you do it for free if no one would pay you or if you weren't trying to make money for it? Your passion is what makes you unique. And so if you determine how you want that to show up in your business, that is something that you can use to then determine who it is you're actually going to serve. Now, the next thing is, when I talk about this, superpower, is your unique value proposition is what some people call it as well. What is it that makes you special? Again, I've spoken to and worked with real estate agents, insurance agents, Mary Kay representatives, and you know that these types of industries, there are people that they're a dime a dozen, right? You can't say that, oh, I sell insurance for this company, because it doesn't matter. If a gazillion people are selling insurance, you got a lot of things to compete with if that's the only thing that you're hanging your hat on. So you need to identify what it is that makes you special. What is your superpower? That unique value proposition. And then how do you want to serve? How do you want to use that to create your brand message, right? The narrative around your business and around your service. So you're either going to be justifying a failure, you're going to be encouraging a dream. Maybe you'll be confirming someone's suspicions or calling out their enemies, or maybe you're alleviating their fear. Whatever it is, the narrative needs to be around that particular thing, so that now what you can do is go back and look at who needs that. Again, if you apply what you need to do and be your best, a perfect example of that is, I think I'm better on podcasts where you hear my passion, and on video where you can see my passion. A blog, not so much, because they're words, people can't can't feel the emotion you really want them to feel with just a few words on your blog post. So I know that about myself. So I create content in the way that I want to create content. But that said, when you look at the various platforms that use video, I need to look at those platforms and see, is my audience going to be on those platforms, right? If you're someone who, as a matter of fact, a good example of this is a client of mine. We just recently looked at their analytics, and Facebook is getting a lot of traction, more than some of the other platforms they're using. Well, Facebook isn't necessarily a hot thing right now, but if they want to serve that client, they've got to figure out the best way to get their message to that audience on that space, given the types of things that they're trying to get across, the way they're trying to get them across, if that makes sense. All right, so if you are trying to niche down, definitely know how you want to leverage your personal brand, know the role you want your superpower to play, understand how you want to serve answering these questions. Are you justifying failure, encouraging a dream, confirming a suspicion, calling out an enemy, or alleviating a fear? All right, let's move on to the next one.
All right, guys, so we have gotten to the end of this week's video. I promised you that there are going to be some solutions to some of the problems that you may be facing in your business right now. So because if I continue, things would be very lengthy and you might stop watching, I'm going to go ahead and break it up here, and we'll come back next week with the final 4 problems and solutions. And so make sure you are subscribed to my channel, hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Come on back next week and get these final 4 problems and solutions that personal branding is going to help you with. Okay? Thanks again for watching. I'll see you again next week.